The house that shouldn't be.
Rachel was an ordinary student who worked the night shift at a grocery store. Her parents, Jake and Lauren, died in a car accident 7 years ago under mysterious circumstances. The investigation into their case was never fully closed. Too many questions remained unanswered. After their death, Rachel was taken care of by her older sister Emma because they no longer had any relatives, or at least that's what the sisters thought. One day during a regular lecture, police officers came to the university. They informed Rachel about the death of her grandmother, Holly. Except she didn't have a grandmother. At least that's what her parents told her. Holly and her husband Oliver disappeared without a trace when Rachel was 3 years old. But the police had a different version. It turned out that they had not disappeared anywhere, but had been living in another place all this time, far from their family. The police asked Rachel to come with them to the station and take Emma with her. On the way, they were shown a photo of their grandparents. There was no limit to the sisters' surprise. There were complete strangers in the picture. The girls began to prove that these were not their relatives, even showing their old family photos. The police were puzzled. Upon arrival at the station, Rachel became ill and was sedated. After that, the sisters heard a story that turned their insides cold. According to police, there have been repeated complaints from neighbors of the house where Holly and Oliver lived. At night, strange sounds could be heard from there. Knocks, groans, and sometimes a terrifying roar. However, whenever the patrolmen arrived, they only found a happy, well-groomed elderly couple. But the last complaint was different. This time, calls were received not only by the police, but also by firefighters with ambulances. The house caught fire. Witnesses told terrible things. Before the fire, a man ran out, half naked, with a bloody hand and a lit candle. He ran around the yard, shouted something, and then ran back into the house, after which there was a frightening silence. When the fire was extinguished, there was no one inside. Holly and Oliver's bodies were gone. The police advised the sisters not to leave the city. However, Rachel couldn't just let it go. She decided to secretly inspect the burnt-out house. In the morning, without saying a word to Emma, the girl went there. Upon arrival, she saw 3 houses standing side by side. 2 of them were for sale, and no one had lived inside for a long time. Deciding to find out more details, Rachel called the number provided. The woman on the other end of the line agreed to meet her at a nearby cafe, but strictly forbade her to enter the burnt-out house. Of course, Rachel didn't listen to her. The house was sealed, but it was easy to get inside. Inside, chaos reigned, burnt beams, charred walls. But her attention was attracted by a secret door under the bed in the bedroom. Downstairs, Rachel found a collection of creepy objects: old shoes for adults and children, ruined children's drawings, books about dark rituals, scary photos. Among them was a picture of her parents' car, surrounded by people in black robes. In the background is a mysterious house in the forest. Shocked, Rachel hurried away, but when she stumbled, she noticed a jewelry box under the bedside table. There was an antique key inside, and strange symbols and numbers were scratched on the bottom. She took a picture of them and left the house to meet with the woman she had called earlier. She said that strange things had been happening in this house for a long time. Mysterious visitors, children's screams that no one but her had heard. When she called the police, they entered the house and then silently left, sending her for a psychiatric examination. After that, Rachel returned to her sister and told her everything. Emma was terrified and insisted on contacting the police. However, Rachel decided to go further. She wanted to go to the coordinates found at the bottom of the box. After a long argument, the sisters decided to go there together. They reached an old house in the woods, and after searching it, found a trapdoor to the basement. After going downstairs, the girls froze in horror. An old man and an old woman were chained on the cold concrete floor. Their skin was covered with scars and wounds, and their eyes were filled with fear and pain. "Help me," the woman croaked. Rachel and Emma freed them, and then they told the terrible truth. The real grandparents were abducted many years ago. Those who posed as them were the founders of the cult. They were the ones who set up their parents' car accident and then took their place to hide the truth. "They're coming," suddenly the old man whispered, looking up. There was the sound of an engine. Someone drove up to the house. Rachel and Emma rushed upstairs and locked the door to the basement. They called the police, but they knew that waiting for help would be like death. The false grandparents entered the house, their faces distorted with madness. "You shouldn't have come here," the woman hissed. She rushed at Emma, clutching a rusty knife in her hand. A deadly struggle ensued. Emma dodged, but the knife still grazed her shoulder. Rachel grabbed a heavy lamp and hit the old woman on the head. She screamed, but did not fall. Instead, her face contorted into an unnatural grimace, and a black, viscous liquid flowed out of her mouth. The old man grabbed Rachel by the throat, squeezing his fingers with superhuman strength. His eyes darkened, and his lips stretched into a crazy grin. Emma stabbed him with scissors, but he didn't react. Then the nurse grabbed a poker and hit him in the temple with all her might. There was a crunch. When the lights of the police cars finally flashed outside the window, the cultists screamed with rage. They tried to escape, but were detained. Rachel and Emma, trembling with horror, watched as they were taken away in handcuffs. But when Rachel looked back at the old house, she saw a figure with black eyes in the shadows. She was smiling. Her family's secret was revealed. But was it the end? Or is it just the beginning of something even more terrible?